a diversity. So clearly the most important one from an economic and cultural aspect is the fisheries associated with kelp forests, both commercial and recreational. And the reason those are so important is recreationally, they're close access, so a lot of people can get out and enjoy fishing within kelp forest ecosystems. And then commercially, they're important in two contexts. One is just the general coastal nearshore fishery that a lot of fishermen are involved in. But the other is a very specific fishery that is developed along the west coast of America, which is called the live fish fishery. The forests tend to be generally pretty stable, pretty predictable in a given location, and how they're distributed along the coast. So that was all very good up until about 2014. And in 2013, the preceding year, we experienced this big sea star wasting event that most people are aware of because it took out the common sea star in the Rocky Intertidal. But it also took out a species called the sunflower star, Pycnopodia. And Pycnopodia is a voracious predator on especially purple sea urchins, but sea urchins in general. The following year, 2014, was this atmospheric anomaly called the blob, which was this big warm water event that's exactly, it started up in Alaska and then kind of grew down the west coast, down to Southern California. And then right after the blob in 2014 came an El Nino event in 2015 and 16. The issue with these warm water events, both the blob and the El Nino, is that warm water is associated with low nutrient content. And the plants, if they're not getting sufficient nutrients, are not as productive as they should be. And when they're productive, they're producing all these blades that fall down to the floor of the forest, which then feeds abalone, sea urchins, and lots of other species. In fact, it fuels this major food web. In 2014, we saw the loss of about 90% of the bull kelp forests, especially in Northern California. Right. So the only thing that's been pursued so far is groups of recreational divers and commercial divers working in conjunction with the Department of Fish and Wildlife to go in and just try to clear out urchins over as large of areas as they can. And the problem is typically those areas still are so small that it doesn't take long before the urchins kind of re-invade. You could do that approach, but you could do it perhaps more surgically. So the idea being you go to these little isolated reef areas, isolated by sand, and then if you reduce the urchins there, the urchins from the surrounding reefs won't be able to colonize very quickly. And then if those cleared small reefs are in proximity to an existing forest so that you get spores to colonize that reef, or you can take spores and you can tack them down on a reef to artificially colonize it.